Alright, and we are back from the road trip. Well, that was a long trip. I think I started with, before we actually started the trip, when we initially headed out, I think it had less than 100 miles. So we definitely put a few miles on the truck. Alright, so this is kind of my first look. I'm not exactly, I took a peek at halfway through to see if there's any major issues. I didn't see any. Now we were over there by the salt water, and I wonder, this upsets me a little bit. Look at this. Look at that rust. This is Rust-Oleum on this. Look at the surface rust. I wonder if that's the salt water. I'm gonna have to hit this again. We don't have issues like this in Louisiana. I think that's directly related to the salt water. Jeez, no wonder all their trucks rust out. I mean, surface rust. Huh, that's horrible. Anyway, that's not really a problem. What is all this? Looks like I see a little bit of belts. My belt's getting chewed a little bit somewhere. I see a little bit of pieces of belt right there, or dirt. I'm not quite sure. The belt itself, I see a little bit of wear right here and here. All right, that's interesting. The wear's on the outside of the belt. Not sure if you can see this. I have wear on the outside of the belt. I wonder if it's coming from the one of those pulleys. I mean, I guess if maybe one of these pulleys has a groove in it from the previous belts. You know, it might be a little rough. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to probably need to take those pulleys off in sandpaper, but that's still not like, it's not a big deal. Going over here. Let's see here. What do we see? What do we see? I see a little bit of where I capped that line off. I see a little bit of a leak. Very, very little. And it's just damp. More corrosion from that salt water. Jeez, I wasn't there that long. Man, I'm glad I don't live there. Looks pretty good. I wonder if I had this much slack in my line, or if the cable actually stretched some from the road trip. I'm not quite sure. Looks like my idle screw is still set properly. I was worried about that. We got more surface rust right there. And again, this was painted with Rust-Oleum. I have to coat that with the Rust-Oleum again. Not a big deal. I see a little bit of wetness right there, that fender well. I'm not even sure if it's enough to actually have a drop. Let's see if we can figure out where it's coming from. I think it's coming from the oil pressure sensor. Let's take a look at that turbo. Oh wow! I don't know if you guys can see that. Now that's right. I mean, it's not painted. It's not painted like my valve covers. That is just the surface rust from being down there, and that surface, it was painted. I mean, it's painted black. But geez. Probably burned off and then turned around surface rust. Geez, look at that. Alright. Oh, that's still not a big deal. I mean, that's I don't see any major issues. Let's take a look under the truck. Fun times. Alright. Okay, so there's where that fender. It's a little bit of wetness by that fender that we saw. It's like, oh, there. If you look on that, I think that is the heater hose. See one little drop coming off the heater hose, which is all related to whatever that is. I'm not gonna stick my hand in it, whether that's the heater hose leaking a little bit, or most likely coming from the oil pressure sensor. No biggie there. Looks good. Now back there, I see another oil drop. I don't know where that's coming from. That's coming from the breather. I'm pretty sure this oil drop over here. Let's look under here. Right there. Because I have my... I can't get a view. Yeah, right there. It's coming off the breather off the back of the engine. I'm going to route that a little further back. Get away from the middle. I see a drop on the transmission cover. Again, that still might be related to the breather. I have to look at that a little further. I mean, we're talking about dry. The oil pan's dry. I'm not quite sure that one little drop's coming from. Doesn't even look like, looking at the ground directly below, it doesn't even look like it's hit the ground. Hope that's off the breather. Again, that's something I have to work through. It's not a big deal. I just need to extend the breather. I'm gonna push it back over here or something like that. Yeah, that looks clean. Very happy with that. All right, so no major gotchas there. Looks like everything held up. Still got a few things to do. I need to lift this up. I mean, I don't want this hanging down. I need to lift this up. Looks like it's got a little sag in it. Lift that up, put it on an arm so it's not just bobbling around. It'll be fine for now, but that's definitely on my to-do list. Brakes worked fine. Everything was working good. All right, so after, you know, how many miles is that? After 742 miles. So how does it drive? All right, so this is, let's talk about how it drives, but let's talk about what it actually is and what's been done to it. Then we'll talk about how it drives. So this is a stock 4BT, stock fuel, stock timing, stock everything, and it has an upgraded turbo. It has a HX30W. It's actually the Chinese one. Even if it only lasts 20,000 miles, I'm okay with that. It's tough for me to buy a very expensive turbo when the one I took off was fine. So, but I needed to do all the work to make sure that the turbo fit. So in other words, upgrading the turbo once it's in the engine is a pain in the butt. So I went ahead and bought the Chinese turbo, put it on there. You know, if I only get 20,000 miles out of it, I'm okay with that. Then I can replace it with a nice one. But all the work for the manifolds, exhaust, the intake, all that stuff is done. The oil fitting, all that stuff will match. So once I come back with a more expensive turbo, if needed, it won't be a big issue. It'll be plug and play because they match. All right, so stock fuel, stock timing, stock everything, upgraded turbo, but without a lot of fuel, it doesn't matter too much. So here's how it works. Okay, so you got to, and my torque converter is like the GM88 torque converter. I bought it new, and it's a low stall torque converter, but I'm not sure it's low enough, because in first gear I gotta kind of rev it to about 2,000 RPM unless the engine's loaded, to let it I guess for it to hook up. Then it hooks up in first gear, and in first gear it'll there's not much left in first gear. It doesn't pull very good in first gear. So basically what I do to drive it is what I've done so far is rev it up to about 2,000 RPM if it's not already, the engine's already loaded. And at that point, it'll catch, and then I'll gas it a little bit. Then I'll let go of the gas, let it shift into second gear, and then in second and third, it pulls pretty good. Again, this for the stock fuel. I'm actually hoping for a little bit more performance once I do that. Now, as it stands right now, this is a driver. I would have no problem driving this back to Galveston right now. I might look at those oil drops to see where they're coming from to validate that, and I'd probably take that pulley right there and sand it so I can figure out what's wearing the top of that pulley. I'm sure it's something so minor that it's probably like a 15-minute thing. But anyway, I would do that. As it stands, it drives daily driver. I'm going to continue to drive this. I have no intentions of shutting this down. I absolutely love it. But it does not drive like the original truck. It does not have passing power. Okay? So if I needed to pass a truck, and that, for instance, I was going down to Galveston, and if I needed to pass a truck, in that one lane going up and down hills, I wouldn't do it. It just doesn't have passing power as it stands right now. But then again, as it stands right now, it's probably not making much horsepower, much torque, you know, just because it's stock. And I just need to turn that fuel up a little bit, and it'll probably be doing fine. But as it stands right now, I would have no problem driving it around. I just, with the expectation, I'm not going to make a pass on a one-lane road. A one-lane twisty road, it just wouldn't be safe. And plus, this is a big truck. I mean, as you guys know, it's a really big truck. I mean, it takes... it's not like a little car to make a pass. It's, you know, you really got to get out there to make a good pass. So yeah, drive it every day, no problem with that. It actually gets really good gas mileage too. I'm kind of surprised. I did that one calculation. It was in 21 and change, and that was during up and down hills and stop and go, and it was in I would almost consider a worst case scenario. The only way to make it worse would just to be stop the engine at every stop sign and restart it. But it was just nasty, the first calculation. So if that's my worst case, is 21. I'm extremely happy with that. Now, one of the things I did right before the trip, I didn't see a video of it, is I got my alignment done. As you guys know, I went through here and replaced the a lot of the steering components, the gearbox, the idle arm, the pitman arm. What else to do? The steering shaft. Went ahead and got an alignment, and that was good. And I also got an exhaust on there. I went to exhaust shop, and let's see if I can get up under here. I think when I talked about it, I couldn't really show you guys, but one of the key points of when I got this exhaust was to make sure they put in a collector so it can be easily removed if I need to change anything. And that's straight 3-inch exhaust all the way back. And they wanted a heck of a lot of money for the muffler. I was like, come on, guys. I mean, they're talking about crazy money for the muffler. So I was like, you know, I got that muffler off the old, you know, the commercial truck it came on. So I grabbed that muffler, threw it in the back of the truck. The muffler got inspected and said, yeah, that's fine. And so we threw it on there, and that's the old delivery truck muffler. And they deal with it, you know, the muffler, it quietens it down, but you really can't hear any sound over the engine. That's a pretty freaking loud engine. So the steering, exhaust, you know, we got all that stuff done. And yeah, I think as it stands right now, this is going to be a driver, and I'm very happy with it. I'm probably going to do a few things. I'm going to need to do something with that hole in the hood. I do have a hood scoop I can throw on there. I just don't want to attract too much attention. If I throw a hood scoop on there, I don't want it to look like a you know, a race truck or whatever, a high performance truck. I just want to kind of fit in. But anyway, like I said, this is a fabulous trip. Gas mileage was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and I am extremely happy with getting that type of fuel mileage in such a beastly of a truck. It's worth it. Now the question is, would I do it again? Man, that's a tough one. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of headaches to do it. I really like the truck. Man, I'm gonna have to think about that. I would probably do it again, but I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of effort involved and a lot of time. And this would be a good project for someone in school that doesn't have a family. I think this is definitely a tough project when you have kids. It's a lot of time involved, a lot of digging. It's a tough one, but yeah, I love it. I absolutely love the truck. What's left to do? I'll come back in that. I got a few little things to do. I want to put a little body lift on it, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant about putting the hood scoop on there. I might take the hood scoop and sell it, because if I put a body lift on it, I'll just buy another hood, and I don't need a hood scoop on it. Also, I still have the AC to hook up. I have to find the AC diagram. It's all wired up, but I think I'm missing a connection or two from the ECU that flips the AC on. you know, little odds and ends, but I think I'm going to put a pressure valve, a brake pressure valve on the rear drums because of the upgrade that I did. I did the GMT 800 upgrade, which is disc and disc, and this is disc drum. So I need about 8 more PSI, so I'm going to get a 10 PSI valve. And what happens is you can hear the at low RPMs, you can hear the rear brakes catch a little bit, which is kind of annoying. It squeal a little bit, but it wouldn't stop me from driving it daily. But that's something I want to go ahead and take care of. Other than that, oh yeah, ha, look at this. Let's see if there's any in here. Can you see that? You see that? It must have stormed so bad while I was in Galveston that I have water in my light. Now that's one of the junkyard lights. I'm not quite sure if it's a seal or what's going on there, but I'll have to look at that. So I guess if you look at, the only problem I had was with the headlight. You know, I believe it still works. It's just got a whole bunch of water. And I'm not quite sure when it happened. If it happened while I was out offshore, or I have absolutely no idea. It didn't happen when the vehicle was in my possession, so it had to have been when I was offshore. How it got in there, I have no idea. Does upset me a little bit because I thought I put that seal in there. I actually took that out a second time to make sure I put the seal in. I guess I didn't do a good job putting the seal in, or which I hope is not the case. The seal around the outside of the lens is bad, which I hope that's not the case. Anyway, you guys have a good one. This will probably be my last video for a long time. I might talk about, you know, specific things to help anyone doing this truck. I might make specific videos, but there won't be any daily activity on this truck. Hopefully for a very, very long time. And I'd see it's drivable. I might tune the transmission controller some, but overall, it's definitely drivable. All right, guys, y'all have a good one.